Hello, welcome to In the Kitchen with Brett Thorne, a food service industry podcast by Restaurant Hospitality. I'm your host, Senior Food and Beverage Editor Brett Thorne, reporting to you in the middle of April, just about a week before Earth Day. I hope this doesn't sound too controversial, but I like the Earth. It's definitely my favorite planet, and I'm very much on board with trying to mitigate the harm that we as a species are inflicting on it. Or really, not the Earth. The Earth's fine. The Earth's going to keep rotating on its axis for much longer than we're here. But I would like us and our fellow species to stay here for as long as we can, and that means looking after the environment. I try to do my part. I recycle. I compost. I turn off the lights when I don't need them. I ride mass transit. I don't even own a car, which is comparatively easy for me. I live in New York. I don't need a car. But I carry my own tote bags with me to reduce my plastic usage. I use my own cutlery when I get takeout. In general, I shop with the environment in mind. Quite coincidentally, Earth Day, April 22nd, is also my birthday. I was raised by two pretty hardcore environmentalists. When I was growing up in the 1970s and 80s, my parents would save their newspapers until the one day a month when they could take it all to a local supermarket to be recycled. That's how you had to do it back then, back when environmentalism was a radical thing. It was called ecology back then. We composted all of our food scraps in our backyard garden. We didn't waste anything. So I tend to roll my eyes when companies talk about safeguarding the environment like it's something that they've just discovered, or when they pretend that they're doing something incredible when they're really just not being terrible. But I am heartened by the fact that companies are doing that even the ones that aren't being super duper green are at least paying lip service to it. That it's no longer some crazy radical thing. And if my parents were still around, people wouldn't be rolling their eyes behind their backs while my parents did perfectly normal things like save plastic containers for later use instead of throwing them away. In many ways, we've made good progress as a society, and another thing that is becoming increasingly normal is treating your employees with respect, paying them decently, keeping your promises to them, treating them like human beings, and like valued human beings. And my guest for this episode, Chris Morgan, is doing that at Serata Pizza and Yasmine, his two restaurants in Washington, D.C. We talk about that, and we also talk about some of the really great sounding food that he's making. And now, here is Chris Morgan. So you have a new restaurant called Pizza Serata, right?
That is correct.
And are you the owner as well as the chef of this place?
I'm one of them, yes. My business partner, Ben Farahani, and I we opened the project together.
And when did it open?
End of January.
So pretty new. I've already written about your skirt steak sandwich, which sounds great.
Yeah, that's a good one. We're really happy with that.
So tell me all about Pizza Serata.
We're super excited about the concept. We spent a ton of time working on specifically the dough recipe. We're very careful. We try to, a myriad of different combinations of flours, and we landed on a really fun one. We use Wade's Mill white and whole wheat flour that is milled at a stone ground mill in Rafine, Virginia, Raphine. It's a family-owned company. They're really, really awesome people. So we're super happy to support them, and it's an incredible product. So we're always, I think every time I'm doing anything, you're looking for, especially when you're doing something like pizza that a lot of people do, you're looking for individual, areas where you can stand apart from the competition. And I think that's one area that we're really excited about is, no one's, sourcing that flour for pizza. It's resulted in an incredible product. We do a 24-hour room temp ferment. We have an 8-year-old sourdough starter. So sourdough is the base. And we bake fresh every morning. and we use the same dough that we use for our pizzas as well as for our sandwiches. So the dough is super interesting as well. It's a focaccia style pizza dough, but definitely a little more structure to it than your typical focaccia. So it holds up, eating as a pizza. But it's a really interesting crust and crumb. So, the outside is super crispy. You get that like richness that you get from like, the old school like butter crust pan pizzas, but it's still lighter than that. It's an olive oil based dough recipe. So it's a nice clean bite. But it also is conducive to like a slew of different fun toppings. We have some more traditional stuff, like we have a pepperoni, we have cheese, we have a tomato pie. But then we have some really interesting combinations, one of which is newer, called the Del Bar. It's actually a fried calamari pizza. So it's fried calamari, garlic aioli, vodka sauce, arrabbiata sauce is the base as well. So two sauces, then fresh mozzarella cheese, and then the fried calamari, garlic aioli, and parsley. That one's phenomenal. We've got a Reading Terminal, which is an ode to DeNick's, the roast pork place in Reading Terminal in Philly, which is like a vodka sauce pizza on top, but you have roast pork. We make our own porchetta in house, so it's porchetta, broccoli raab, pickled cherry peppers, and mozzarella, and a sharp provolone, an aged provolone that goes on that. So that one's super fun. And then we have a hot and bothered, which is like, spicy pizzas. Sweet and spicy pizzas are a big hit these days. We made a really fun one that's arrabbiata as the base, so spicy tomato sauce, a imported sopressata that's spicy as well. And then we use our fresh mozzarella, and then chili oil, honey, and torn basil. That one's particularly excellent. Yeah, a lot of fun stuff. We also have a mortadella pizza that's really interesting. So we use pistachio pesto as the base, so it's a white pie, and then fresh mozzarella, and then we do stracciatella that we also make in house. We make all of our mozzarella in house as well, and I'll talk about that in a second. Which we make daily. Stracciatella we make from our fresh mozzarella daily, and that goes on the pie. So you've got both of those cheeses. Mortadella, which is shaved super thin, studded with pistachios, red onion jam, which gives it this like nice pop of acidity and sweetness, and then crushed pistachios and pecorino cheese. That one is one of the sleepers. The Del Bar and that are my two favorites right now. Granted, I'm a fan of all of the pizzas, maybe biased, but no, we've gotten excellent feedback. It's been super exciting. And yeah, like I said, I think a big thing we're doing also to separate ourselves is, yes, it's a pizza concept, but we do as much as we can to elevate it without making it less approachable. So it's super fun. The menu's exciting. It's fun for me because culinarily I can, it's kind of, a little pizza playground, but we also do a lot of the things the right way. So we're sourcing a lot of our ingredients locally. We get, we make as much as we can. We make everything from scratch. All of our sauces obviously are made from scratch, pizza dough, and then we make our own mozzarella, which I don't think a lot of people are doing in DC, which is a time-consuming process, but it's a labor of love, and we're really excited about that. And then stracciatella as well. We make, we suspend it in a local heavy cream after we pull it, and that one's particularly excellent as well.
Stracciatella is basically like shredded mozzarella, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that all sounds pretty remarkable. Clearly you have a fine dining background.
I do. Yeah, I worked in the fine dining circuit for the majority of my career. I was in San Francisco for a long time, and then I moved back to DC, where I'm from. I'm from Northern Virginia, from McLean, and I was, opened restaurant, which was kind of when Whole Animal Butchery was first on the scene. I opened a restaurant called The Partisan, which was a big hit back then with Neighborhood Restaurant Group. Then I went over to open the Dabney, which is one of the best restaurants in DC. We won a Michelin star there. I was the executive sous chef. That's when I got into live fire. So I was a live fire kitchen. Then I went on to open. I was a corporate chef for a little while in between that. Then I opened a restaurant called Maidan, um, where we won Michelin star and a ton of other accolades. And then I met my business partner, uh, Ben, and he and I have been working on a ton of new fun concepts. One of which is Pizza Serata, that we're really excited about since then. So, lot of goals, present and future facing. But yeah, all exciting stuff. So for me, I want to. We both want to come up with fun and exciting concepts that are places that we want to go eat. As much as a big focus of ours obviously is making sure that whatever we're coming up with is appealing to any and everyone. But I think fine dining for me isn't what I look to go. That doesn't really pique my interest as like what I want to go eat tonight or today on a daily basis. I think it's an occasional thing that I find to be fun. I respect all of the chefs who produce the utmost quality food at the high end level, and I think that fine dining is a beautiful thing. It's just not my thing at that level, like, per se. I'm more into the casual fine dining and below. But it's fun when I'm able to have a concept like Pizza Serata where I can really be exploratory. I can flex my culinary guns, if you will, but also, have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, it sounds like you can, be just as chefy at your pizzeria and that you're doing all of that. Oh,
Yeah.
artisanal bread and fancy sauces and super high quality meat, etc. So that's super fun. Now it sounds like you have other restaurants in the works or that are already open. What's up?
We do. We have right now we have a really fun Lebanese kebab shop called Yasmine. That's also in DC, right up the street from Pizza Serata and Union Market. That one's been doing really well. We opened end of last year or late fall, and that one's really exciting. I was spent a lot of time cooking Middle Eastern food, so that one is close to home for me. And my one of our business partners there is Lebanese Palestinian. It's named after his grandmother, Yasmin. That one's been a lot of fun. And then we do have some other projects in the works. One of which is a casual fine dining Persian concept that's going to be opening in Tyson's Corner in late May, June-ish, date TBD. But that one we're really, really, really excited about. I can't give you a ton of information on that, unfortunately, but that is something that we've been working on. My business partner has been working on that for years. It's been a concept that he's wanted to open for a very long time, and I share a passion for Persian food as well. I had an early exposure to it, and growing up in the Northern Virginia area, and we're really, really, really excited about that one. I think it's going to be, there's definitely some Persian restaurants locally and in the U.S., but I'm hoping we can set ourselves apart and do something no one's seen before.
Well, yeah, there are some Persian restaurants, but it's not like Mexican food. It's
No,
very.
it's definitely not.
Do you know what it's going to be called yet? The place in McLean? You
Yeah,
don't
it's going to be called Joon, so it's Joon.
Uh-huh. That must mean something in Farsi.
Yeah, it's a term of endearment. It means dear. It's used in a lot of ways.
So all of that stuff sounds super awesome. Uh, but you have a fine dining background, but you say you're not super into fine dining. So how did you get into cooking, and how did you end up going the fine dining route?
I've been, professionally cooking for 17 years. I have been into food my whole life. I was very fortunate to grow up with a family with a lot of really good cooks, including my mother. So that was kind of, my early exposure, relatives and what have you. And then I just, cooking was a means for me to make money growing up. And then I don't really think I took it seriously though until I got to San Francisco. Maybe prior to that, when that was I was at a restaurant in Lake Tahoe and I was like, you know what, I kind of want to keep doing this. I really love the energy. It works with my brain. I love multitasking. I kind of thrive in the chaos. So for me, that was exciting. I decided to go to culinary school, and then I worked in some fine dining restaurants in California. I got to be there, which is in San Francisco. I think there's fewer places in the world that have that kind of access to fresh produce. Seasonality doesn't even really matter. Like we're handicapped here in the winter months, but out there it's a damn playground. So, I was really excited to work for people like Judy Rodgers. I spent time at Zuni Café. I got to work under Charles Phan at Slanted Door Restaurant Group. I was very, very lucky. And then, I think for me, foundationally, having the experience of fine dining is important because, it provides you with real structure. And I come from the age of chefs where you get yelled at and you come into work nervous. I know that's not particularly popular anymore, and rightfully so, but I think there is also a benefit to that like, my era of chefs and cooks are disciplined. Not that current cooks aren't, but I think there's just I was nervous every day I went to work that, if I didn't have my stuff tight and ready and organized, and if my apron wasn't clean and my chef's coat wasn't like sparkling, that, I might not be able to come to work the next day. And I think that's something that like was instilled in us that helped us grow. And, it really put a fire under all of us, myself and my coworkers out in San Francisco and, at my restaurant and other restaurants alike. And I think that was, a big motivator for me. And I also respected the craft even more because, cooking's a beautiful thing. And I think, it's exciting. It can be really exciting. And I think if you have the right people above you who you can learn from and they can educate you on the nuances of cooking and I think it's really important, I think, in the process of learning how to cook that you learn why you do certain things and why you don't do certain things and how things, I think providing, because the restaurant world can be so chaotic. Fine dining does provide people with a lot of structure. And I think taking those lessons that you learn in those environments and applying them to things like a pizza concept are, what gives you an opportunity to produce a better product than others might be able to. And, so.
Yeah, and there is something to be said for, having really high expectations for your staff and maybe being a little bit of a jerk when, those expectations aren't met, and letting people know in no uncertain terms what you want and how they should do it. And,
Yeah.
even though that's not people, well, I don't know, maybe you still do that in your restaurants. Probably not.
I don't actually. I think what I've kind of changed. I'm not a yeller. I don't. I treat people with respect when respect is, earned. That is, I mean, definitely, if someone's being unkind or rude or inappropriate, I don't stand for that. But if you're making mistakes or you're trying or any number of things, like I like to lead by example. I think that where the best chefs that I've ever worked for are better cooks than everyone in the kitchen. They can go in the kitchen, they can cook their own menu, they can show you how they want everything done. And then it's just about, maintaining that consistency and teaching how you like things done to these individuals. And, if you're passionate about what you're doing, it'll motivate them, tenfold. And I think you'll see ultimately happier cooks, and a better product hitting the plate. And I think for me, a big thing is just high standards. I like to keep things positive. I like positive reinforcement. myself and my business partner are both really big on rewarding people when they work really hard or do a good job on every level, from cooks to managers to what have you. And I think it's a hard job. And I think treating people with respect is, we're very fortunate that we don't have a lot of turnover, because I've worked with some of the people that work for me now have worked with me for 10 years, a lot of them actually. And I pride myself in that. And I hope that stays to be the case, because we've basically become like a family. And yeah, and yelling happens, but I don't yell very often. I think anyone that would listen to this that's worked for me knows that. If I am yelling, something very bad happened, but I don't belittle people or call them names or any of that stuff that used to happen to me. I mean, I'll express my frustration about something, but I think there's nothing productive that comes out of that except people get really scared. I think there's better ways to deliver criticism or get what you need.
So how did you figure that out? I mean, there's, for example, in families, if you have an abusive father, you're probably going to be an abusing father yourself, because that's just those sort of things perpetuate themselves. And I think that also has happened traditionally in restaurant culture. So how did you figure out that wasn't the way that you wanted to run your restaurants?
I was fortunate enough to work for people that did rule with an iron fist, um, in a way that I don't think was productive. And then I also worked for people that, had everyone running nervous, but they um, were still a joy to work with. And I think there's ways to do it and ways not to do it. And, for me, I think, one of the things I did in my career is I sought out restaurants that were in the opening process, because I was interested in opening restaurants of my own one day, and I wanted to learn the ins and outs. And I think I was lucky that I got to see many different um, management styles. And I kind of just from that created my own management style that slowly grew over the years. I wasn't a perfect manager. I'm still not today, but I think I've developed a management style that I'm proud of over the years, based on kind of picking and choosing things that I wanted to take with me. I still work with chefs during events and pick up little things that I'm like, wow, that's cool that you do that. I love that. I'm going to start doing that. You know, so
Yeah, it's not like you're going to know everything about how to run restaurants or treat people, because nobody knows that. So it's always a continuous learning process.
yeah,
Which
it is.
I imagine
And
is
that's part of the fun.
right.
So
So did you want to say more about the mozzarella that you make in house? I feel like there was more to that.
yeah, I mean, we take mozzarella curd, and it's really, really simple. You salt the mozzarella, we heat water to a particular temperature, you pour the mozzarella over top of it, and then it is very temperatures and time specific. So you do have to work quickly and make sure that, you know, even if the room's a little colder, you have to adjust the water temp, things like that. So there's a science to it. And then, basically you slowly work the cheese to stretch it. And then basically you're trying to take the curd and stretch it until it's extremely silky, but it has a nice structure to it. And then you will form. You can do any number of things here, but what we do is we form it into balls and then store it at room temperature until it cools down a little bit, and then we cool it in the refrigerator, covered in plastic so it doesn't develop a film. And then we slice that fresh mozzarella, and that goes on all of our pizzas. Um, which I think, once again, it's like the salinity is beautiful. The overall flavor is just, I mean, you can't beat it. I mean, you can buy any kind of fresh mozzarella you want, but making it yourself it's just better. Um, and it's fun too. It's an exciting way to kind of that je ne sais quoi when you take a bite of the pizza and you're like, wow, this is really fucking good, but you can't figure out what it is. I mean, that's one of the things. I think we do a lot of things that provide that, hopefully, but I think that is one area where we definitely are super proud of our product.
Yeah, that roast pork sandwich, the Reading Terminal one, sounds especially good. I had my first.
That one's a pizza. We have a
Right,
roast
I
pork
meant.
sandwich too. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, that
You're good.
I first had one of those sandwiches in 2012. I still remember because it was the best thing I ate that year. It's such an incredible. Um,
People hate me when I say this, but I think that the cheesesteaks are overrated. The roast pork sandwich from Philly is the greatest thing that ever happened to sandwiches, in my opinion. There aren't many sandwiches that I'd rather eat than a proper like John's or DeNick's roast pork sandwich.
yeah, they're incredible. And I love a cheesesteak, but only in Philadelphia. I don't know why you can't get a good cheesesteak outside of Philadelphia because
It's tough.
and it's weird because it's simple. It's like
Yep.
steak and onions and
Yep.
inexpensive cheese, and yet on a soft roll, and yet it's
Yep.
really hard to find outside of Philly.
Hmm. I mean, that one area that I think sandwiches fall flat is the bread. I think the bread dictates the quality of the sandwich as much as the ingredients do, if not more so. And I think for us, we're really the reason I'm so in love with our sandwiches at Pizza Serata is we're sourcing everything, like I said, locally. We're making a lot of the meats and things that are on the sandwiches in house. All the sauces are made from scratch, and then we make the dough in house every morning, and it's just beautifully fresh. It toasts up incredibly well. It's got this amazing texture that I've never had on a sandwich that I'm absolutely in love with, and it holds up really well for hot, cold, room temperature sandwiches, the like. So it's really really special.
And it's also like focaccia, like the pizza dough, right?
Yeah,
It's the same dough.
exact same dough.
So what you got pizza on the menu? And you have sandwiches. What else is there at Pizza Serata?
We use our stracciatella for like a little starter. We have that with andouille. So we have andouille and stracciatella finished with some nice Sicilian olive oil, Maldon salt, and that's served with toast points, which are also made from our pizza dough. We have a beautiful spinach and artichoke dip has about 4 different kinds of cheese in it. That's really special. We finished that in the oven in the cast iron with lemon zest and breadcrumbs that are also from our pizza. That have a bunch of dried herbs packed into them. So it's definitely an elevated version of that dish. We have some amazing wings. That is quite the process. We cure chicken wings, free range birds. They're delicious. And we cure them overnight with a bunch of spices and fresh herbs and garlic. And then we rinse them off after overnight. And then we toss them in baking soda. And that really helps the crispiness in the frying process. And we basically let them dry out in the walk-in overnight to build this kind of skin, which is activated via the baking soda. And then we fry them from there. And then we have a bunch of sauces and things that we toss them in. We have like a Calabrian chili buffalo sauce. A lot of the flavors lean Italian at Pizza Serata. We make our own Calabrian chili buffalo sauce, which is really special. We have you have the option to toss them with andouille, so that spreadable hot salami. It renders out over the chicken wings, and that also goes out with caramelized onions, crispy garlic, Sicilian oregano, tossed into the wings. So it's like this like unctuous, meaty, porky chicken wing. And then we have a ton of different sauces to dip into. We've got ranch, Calabrian ranch, tomato aioli, Calabrian mayo. I'm blanking right now. There's a ton of other sauces. We have our pizza sauce, our arrabbiata, our vodka sauce, all of which are available as condiments. So any sauce that you see on a sandwich or on a pizza, you can get not only for dipping your sandwiches into, you can dip the wings into it, you can dip your pizza crust, or the pizza itself, which is really awesome. The crust is so dang good that like dipping the crust when you're eating your pizza into like ranch, for example. I know some people are like, anti that. It's absolutely delicious. So I like ranch on anything. So
Yeah, people are anti a lot of things, then they shouldn't eat them. That's up to them.
Yeah.
And so your wings take 3 days to make. That's pretty incredible. And it's weird that wings are the most popular appetizer with pizza. It just seems like such an odd combination.
Well, that's what we grew up with, At least for me, I grew up ordering wings and pizza every time. It was very rarely would I get pizza without wings when I was a kid. Provided my parents were willing to pay for it.
And you grew up in the Virginia area?
I did. I grew up in McLean, yeah, right out about 5 miles outside DC.
Where ranch on pizza is the custom, as I understand it, as it is in much
And
of the
ra-
United States.
butter, yeah, butter dipping sauce for Papa John's and ranch on pizza. So, and my a lot, I have a lot of family in North Carolina, and I spent time there in college too. And ranch on everything is big down there. So that one stuck with me also. And then we also have a really delicious salad on the menu. That is one of my favorites. It's whipped ricotta as the base, and arugula, pickled onions. Um, it's a phenomenal, and roasted beets. We use yellow and Chioggia beets and red beets, all tossed together with really awesome lemon vinaigrette. It's super clean, but you kind of eat through the salad into the cheese, so you get this nice sweetness from like a lemon ricotta that we whip in house. And then I'm trying to think what else I'm missing here.
Pretty well covered. It's a big
Yeah,
menu.
it's a fairly sizable menu. Yeah. Oh, then we have calamari. We have fried calamari that's awesome. I think we did an incredibly good job with our dredge, and we served that with arrabbiata sauce and garlic aioli. And we fried pickled cherry peppers with the calamari. So you get little bites of pickled cherry pepper and fried calamari in every bite.
Sounds great. And
So
you also put the calamari on pizza.
we do.
So why is it called serrata?
So serrata means party in Italian. Um, it also means night. So like, pizza night, pizza party was kind of, it's a nostalgic concept in a way, like this, for me. And delivery pizza and going somewhere fun to grab pizza is one of those things that I think is nostalgic for a lot of people. And when it's a fun and exciting concept that, you can go in and enjoy the pizza there, you can get it to go, you can get delivery. And it's, the idea is you get a bunch of friends, you order your pizza and apps and sandwiches and, have a little pizza party. And I think it's kind of an ode to that with an elevated Italian leaning lift to it, if you will.
Yeah, it all sounds great. And who doesn't like a pizza party? And business is
Exactly. Business is great. Yeah, we're working on launching a catering menu right now, which we're really excited about, where we're going to use our same pizza dough so our pizza doughs are 9 inches, our sandwiches are 6. We're going to be launching a large format cold sandwiches for catering, which will be really fun. So that same dough that been preaching about, as well as pizza and all the sides, and we do have a slew of sides as well, like roasted mushrooms. We do like a mushroom triflati with white wine and garlic. That's awesome. Broccoli raab is a side. Beets is a side. Some fun stuff. So there's a lot of options for catering, and we're excited for that. But yeah, the restaurant's doing really well. We're excited to be in the in Northeast, serving the Union Market area. A lot of really good feedback, and excited for the warm weather to hit, because we have a badass patio and a retractable garage door that should bring in even more people to come try and see what we're up to.
Sounds like a restaurant that could expand into a chain. Do you have any thoughts on doing that?
That is our goal. We are looking to grow the brand locally at first, but yeah, we're really excited for. We're already exploring our next option for. We'll actually have a location so our Joon, the restaurant I was mentioning, is going to have a ghost kitchen attached to it, where we'll be featuring some of these brands of ours, one of which will be Pizza Serata. So soon enough, you'll be able to order both Yasmine and Pizza Serata if you live local enough to Vienna, Virginia. So Tyson's Corner, Falls Church, McLean, Great Falls, that neck of the woods, which is all part of the DMV, as well as I think it'll stretch to Arlington, depending on which delivery platform. But we'll have all of the fun stuff that you normally have to drive to DC to get, or live close enough to order via third party, in the backyard of the people I grew up around the corner from. So
That sounds exciting. It makes me want to go to that section of Virginia and have my Serrata in Northeast, which is also far because I'm in New York City.
yeah.
We're about out of time, but I wanted to ask you a little bit more about how you keep your staff, because you said you have people following around to different restaurants, and as you know, there's a labor shortage and it's hard to keep people. So
Yeah.
why do you think you're able to keep people?
I mean, I think for one, treating people right is the number one most important thing. I think giving people, you go to a lot of places, people preach that they're going to be treated well. They preach that they're going to give people opportunities. I think, we pride ourselves in doing both of those things, and as well as paying people a very competitive wage. If you work hard, we're going to uh, pay you well. We're going to pay you well regardless as a child, but we definitely incentivize people with pay increases as well as opportunities, like I was mentioning before. And then, we really do want to help people grow within our company. So if someone's excited and my business partner is big on taking good care of people as they work with our company and giving them more and more opportunities. And we've seen that just since Yasmine opened. I mean, one of our guys who was a line cook is now a sous chef. One of the guys who was a sous chef is now our chef de cuisine across both Pizza Serata and Yasmine. I mean, there's, obvious pay increases that come with that. Additional came in, they worked hard, and they smiled every day, and we rewarded them for it. And I think that alone is a big thing. One of my guys who's been with me for 10 plus years has been working multiple jobs for 10 plus years, and he's tired of doing it. And he and I have, we sat down with Ben and figured out a way that we could, make him happy financially and allow for him to just work one job. And we're going to be moving him to a salary position where he'll be overseeing prep for all of our concepts, and a big pay increase involved in that. And this guy's just worked hard. He's been integral part of our team, and we're really, really happy. I think it's also extremely rewarding on our end to be able to provide these opportunities to people. And I think too many people blow smoke and say they'll do stuff for you if you work for them. I mean, I was guilty. I mean, I've worked for a lot of people who promised me the world, and it never actually happened. But it's a lot easier to retain employees if you're true to your word, you treat people right, you manage with, by manage and lead by example. And, I mean, just creating a fun work environment is so very important. We work too hard. Things are too stressful. Giving people a place to work where they actually want to come to work is hard to come by. And if you can do that and pay people well, you're going to have a lot of success.
Well, it's probably easier to pay people well if they stay because hiring and training people is expensive.
Well, yeah, and ultimately, if the staff is happy, the food's going to taste better.
Right.
It's like the Danny Meyer model. If you're investors shouldn't be first. It should be your staff and your team and your employees. If the employees are happy and the staff is happy, the food's going to taste better. The guests are going to have a better experience. The investors are going to make more money. Obviously, there's nuances to that with all the costs we're incurring with increases in things over the years. But ultimately, once again, it's top down like that. It all comes down to what you're putting out and how happy everyone is making everything and the experience that guests are getting to then, make ends meet. So,
yeah, that's a story I hear a lot, and I don't hear at all really people who said, well, yeah, things were expensive and it was hard, so we cut corners and bought inferior products and exploited our staff, and then we were successful. I've never
exactly.
that happened.
No. Thankfully, that's not an option.
Right. Well, but for many years, people thought it was, and they were
exactly. Yeah.
So it's nice that, in general, as an industry, we're turning a corner and figuring out how to, treat human beings the way they deserve. Well, we're about out of time, as I said. Thank you a lot, Chris Morgan. It's really nice to meet you, and I want to.
Yeah, thank you. Very nice to meet you as well.
And I want to go to DC and eat at all your restaurants.
Please let me know. You have my email. Shoot me a message, and we'd love to have you.
Awesome. I love it when people say that.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, and you have a bunch of restaurants to run, so I'll let you get back to it.
Thank you, sir. Great talking with you. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for yours.